Hello, friends. This is just like grammar school where nobody's sitting in the first rows. I don't know why, except for those two and me. So I want to remember to remind you that these shows are recorded and they're on YouTube, and you type in Tacoma Tripod Arts. And that's on the bottom of every email invitation I send, so you don't have to memorize this. Last month's show was hard to record because the internet went out in the middle of the recording. And Erik, our tech, was recording it in two different ways. So he can splice the first half of one of those to the second half, but he hasn't had a chance to do that. So if you look that up, it'll be a couple of weeks late. So I know you're all really excited, and it's because we've got 3 stellar photographers showing tonight. And the first one is John Carlton. So I'm going to read his bio. It's really long, but it is so funny and so well written. I'm reading every bit of it. He was born in Central Florida the day after Barack Obama was born and was named after then President John F. Kennedy. Not long after that, John and his mother and a variety of stepfathers, not all together, moved around to a number of small towns in Illinois throughout the rest of his childhood. At 17, upon graduating from high school, John was looking for a fast, cheap, and out-of-control method of advancing his education and getting out on his own. So he joined the Marine Corps. John, every day since then, has felt very lucky there were no wars the U.S. openly participated in while he was in the Corps. But his time nonetheless did result in some PTSD. He found himself immersed into the born-again cult of Christianity, where he dove deep. John received some formal education while in the Marines, roughly an associate's degree in electronics, but upon his honorable discharge, he switched career paths and went on to attending Bible school in Chicago, where he acquired all the credits for a bachelor's degree in theology. But something else also happened there that changed the equation. Due to John having gotten to know the Bible just too well and gotten to know some really fascinating, intelligent, and kind non-Christians, John was born again, this time as an agnostic. And because of that, the Bible College refused to grant him the degree. John was not that disappointed, really, as the winds of change propelled him onward to pursue other grails, and he soon acquired a bachelor's degree of fine arts in photography, film, and multimedia from the University of Illinois at Chicago. Career-wise, John has made many moves up and down a variety of ladders over the years. Paperboy, cornfield detasseler, pig farm shit shoveler, machine shop monkey, gas station pumper, Bible bookstore salesperson, luxury high-rise doorman, late-night security guard, video arcade token pusher, UPS truck loader, janitor, carpenter's assistant, video game designer, artist, videographer, photographer, website designer, lawn and garden maintenance, and currently playground designer and visualizer. John and Claudia moved to Tacoma from Chicago in 1998. They miss the restaurants, theater, and museums of Chicago, but nevertheless have never regretted the move here to the beautiful Pacific Northwest and the wonderful people of Tacoma, Washington. John?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm showing mine as a video, so there's going to be times when it's going to be playing probably faster than I can explain what's up there, but we'll see what happens. Okay. So mine's Signs of the Times, Visions of the Future. Are you hearing me okay? Yeah. Okay, great. And let me grab this thing here. And let's hit play. Okay, so when we moved here in the late 90s, Claudia and I were just enraptured with the Pacific Northwest, the beautiful forests and the landscapes and the fascinating people, and we held no regrets and still love it here. With the arts community in particular in Tacoma has been so wonderful, the fascinating people, and we feel very fortunate to be here. And we recognize that we're on native land and that we have been kindly allowed to be here in peace. And so we've really felt fortunate to stand with the tribe on some major issues since we've moved here. Tacoma is this kind of strange mix of beauty and horror that is amazing for such a relatively small town. And it's such a beautiful place because of its, in some ways, because of its military connections, because that's why there's such a diversity of people here. But it also, the military comes with the military-industrial complex, and that is kind of one of the darker sides of Tacoma. So I not only fixate on that kind of stuff, I also create artwork about a variety of things. This was in conjunction with another artist, Kathy Gorfus, an Olympian. She suggested she take pictures, and I would Photoshop in oil refineries and whatnot. I draw a lot on my phone. Most of these are drawings that I just doodle on my phone when I'm, bored at a city council meeting or something. I'm not in the city council, but I used to go to, I haven't been recently, but I used to go to a lot of meetings. I take photos, that's my degree in photography, and I love Tacoma's architecture, history, natural realm. Professionally, I do a lot of computer graphics. These are old pieces that I did for video games, for a variety of other things as well. And that's really been a fun thing to do. So now I work on visualizing playgrounds for a company up in British Columbia that creates water parks and regular playgrounds for kids actually all over the world. That last one was in Vietnam. I've been fixated lately on AI-generated imagery, actually for the last couple of years. And it is pretty amazing what we're facing right now. We're at a brink where singularity is about to happen, which just means that AI is about to surpass us in just about anything. And that's a dark moment. And I also create a lot of animated sequences about issues that I'm concerned with. Yes, come be a part of sub-area plan interim regs. And now for Signs of the Times. And so these are photos that just have taken in the last couple of years that have to do with the moment at hand in Tacoma. This is that wonderful park. Yes. Yes, Dune. And this is actually another park that's in the port that has been closed down. That was a little park that's no longer available. The oil trains just keep rolling through Tacoma. That's at the Museum of Glass. This is what used to be known as Targa, and now I've forgotten the name of it, but they've been expanding. Google Earth is a great method of seeing the Pacific Northwest as well as being there in person. But this is a little video I've cut down to a short version, but the whole thing's about 10 minutes long, where you follow, using Google Earth, you follow the Puyallup River down from its glacier down to the port of Tacoma. And it's pretty fascinating, actually. This is the very reason that Tacoma is such a valuable location is because of the Puyallup River. And to see what it was naturally, and then to watch it progress into this channel that is, you know, stripped of its what it was originally. You know, this used to be arteries in every direction right here. And now it's just this one channel and concrete surrounding it. And it's not surprising that there's very little that lives there anymore. In the Port of Tacoma, there was a grove of trees that's still there in a wetland, actually, right there in the center of that peninsula, that they're proposing to take out and use for more pavement. They're going to remove the existing wetlands there. And we went down there and took some photos recently. And, you know, this is an osprey nest in the middle of it. This is the last little grove, birds that are trying to fly over the port. This is the last place they can land. Something the port has been working on at the same time is the Wapato Creek restoration. And if you look right there, that's where they're doing. This became warehouses about 4 years ago. And now they took this area and they've restored part of the Wapato Creek. But there's that grove up there that they're taking, anyway. So there's time-lapse available on Google Earth that's really fascinating to look at anywhere on the world. And you can see, this goes back to 1985 and moves forward. You can see in the White River Valley and the Puyallup River Valley, large amounts of development. This is Gig Harbor. This is the last 30 years of Gig Harbor right there. Can't see the forest for the parking lots anymore. But this is something that I recommend everybody kind of learn. It's a relatively easy program to use, and especially the timeline feature is just jaw-dropping. This is, again, the White River area and the Puyallup River area. There's Sumner down there and Bonnie Lake. But you can see the giant warehouses popping up all over the place, just in the last 10, 20 years. This is Frederickson, South Hill. You know, I use Google Earth a lot professionally for trying to understand what I'm looking at, where the playgrounds are going. And so it's pretty fascinating to see what's going on all over the world in terms of development like this. This over here, this is the Nisqually River Delta. This is eastern Olympia, and this is DuPont. And you can see the forests were just in the last couple decades taken out for development, and which is not going to be good for the Nisqually River, because asphalt means tires and gas and all kinds of metal shavings. This is the foothills of the Mount Rainier. I just thought it was fascinating to look at. I mean, you know, the timber industry is just like a bunch of ants out there. And here's a development that's proposed and people are fighting in the South Tacoma Way. This is the old rail yards for Northern Pacific. These are photos we took down there about a few months ago, and it's all woodland and wetland. This water eventually feeds down into Chambers Creek, and there's so many issues in Tacoma that you can take pictures of while you're experiencing it. It's not all dark. It's beautiful, and sometimes it's overwhelming. And now I can understand if you want to put your eyes away and go, okay, I need a break here, because it just goes fast. This is that's how many photos I wanted to talk about, and by today I had to just squeeze them all in as like some sort of seizure-inducing experience. So, yeah. Anyway, so okay, now that we've had that kind of, let's all take a break and think about the beauty of Tacoma, which is Point Defiance, the forests, the things that have lived here for thousands of years, and while this slideshow is about, you know, signs of the times, it's also wanting to move into the future and have, you know, where are we going with all this? And I think it's important for us to to keep in mind the importance of something that can't be replaced. Yeah. So another thing about the getting to the understanding where we're going with the future is in order to draw the arc, it's good to know where you came from, not just from where you're at. And Tacoma's past is, rooted in millennia of nature, but also people in harmony with the nature, where when the tide went out, dinner was served. When the sun rose behind the mountain, it was a reason to recognize the solstice and the importance of it. We tend to think of the Port of Tacoma as always looking like this, but this all used to be tide flats. And the people, particularly the Puyallup tribe, lived on the waterways surrounding this area because of the ability to, one, be fed all year round, and two, to be able to travel so easily in boats. If you look at this line right here, this is the Puyallup tribe's treaty reservation lines. But here's the end of the tide flats right here. And so this goes up and down with the tides. And guess what? That's where they built the port. They took the slag from Asarco and Kaiser and a number of other industries and filled in that area, and then it became a place where they could build ships. But it's interesting, I don't know if it doesn't seem like it should be kind of illegal to use the tide flats of another nation to build, like what if we went over to, Japan and said, okay, well, we're going to use this area right off the shore, there wasn't any respect for the tribe's connections to, see, that was the first to go. And this is probably in the 1940s or 50s. Right around the early 50s, this is an early photo probably from the 1900 or so, but you can see it was very different than it is today. It was full of life. This was a place you could walk and find all kinds of things. And then U.S. Oil moved in. And U.S. Oil was, I love this. This is the opening of U.S. Oil. And there's Chico Marx telling, probably, there's the military guy. Chico Marx probably telling his favorite joke, which is, I need money so bad, I'd kill somebody for money. And then he looks over at Groucho and says, oh, I wouldn't kill you. You, my friend, I'd kill you for free. But yeah, the U.S. Oil opened up in the 50s and became a major artery for oil going to JBLM. And other things rose. The rise and fall, this is a fascinating article I recommended that you can find online if you look up the Tacoma pesticide industry, arsenic pesticide industry. There's a history of Tacoma's connection of using its arsenic to create pesticides and herbicides, and it became the world leader in pesticides in the mid-20th century, which still the remnants of those sites have yet to be cleaned up in the port. So the future, yeah. So it's something, this is, well, then there's this. Okay, I'm kind of falling apart here. But this is, on the port, we actually found this guy had a sign, making Tacoma great again, and he's got, making Tacoma, he's not talking about going back, he's talking about Trumpism. But anyway, everybody seems to recognize that there's an emergency going on with climate change, but those stats that were up there, typically people don't know what to do, and so they're kind of in shock, and oh, I thought it paused. Oh, you did, you went back, okay. Anyway, I was going, did I do that twice? But anyway, so people tend to, they're concerned about it, but they're not taking action on it. It's something we need to take action on, and I wanted to put this in here just to kind of encourage all of us to think in terms of we can make a difference. And the future belongs to us. And this was on the, someplace in the port. This image to me is this beautiful piece that's in the Tacoma Art Museum by a Tlingit, a tribal member, about the tragedy of loss. But what if we returned Tacoma, instead of being parking lots and bridges for a future, what if we decided we wanted to start building bridges of green over the highway, or connecting green areas like 350 Tacoma did, to bring back the arteries and capillaries of green that enables us to live. And so yeah. I kind of, this last bit, I wanted to emphasize that, we have a great opportunity of standing with the tribes to make the Pacific Northwest in general better, or we can go to Mars. And this is only $5,000, and it looks like a cool thing to fly. But we have a choice, and we need to realize we can't move away from here. It's just going to be, we need to save this place. So some places, these are real quick, Tacoma Tree Foundation and 350 Tacoma, places you can get involved in making La Resistencia, having to do with the detention center and the illegal locking up of immigrants. And next week, there's a wonderful performance that's going to be done about an element of Tacoma's dark history. Greg Utes has composed a wonderful piece that he can tell you a lot more about than I can, but I encourage you to go see it. Thank you very much. I know I'm kind of all over the place and kind of fall apart there, but.
John, don't
Yes.
go away.
Oh, okay.
There are probably questions. Is this on? Can you hear me?
Do you want to talk over on this one?
No, if you have questions, say it really loud. And John, would you repeat the question?
Yes.
So that the video we do, they'll be able to tell what we're doing.
I will do that. Any questions?
Come on, after all that.
What kind of camera do you use?
Anyone that I can get my hands on, I don't know. I got a GoPro recently, but none of that was in GoPro. So.
What's GoPro?
Oh, it's a wide-angle lens little camera you can put on your hat, or on your helmet, or.
John, don't you sometimes use your Samsung phone?
Yeah, I use my phone. I used to have a Samsung phone. This one is a cheaper model, but it takes decent photos. Hi.
I love the idea about the bridges of green going over freeway, but how would we start other organizations or just writing our representatives?
That's a good question. So she's asking, how do we make that happen if we want bridges of green across the highways? How can we make that happen? Actually, there was one, and I wanted to get to that. I just kind of ran out of time. There was a bridge built on I-5 just recently, crossing right near the, what's the summit there in the Cascades?
Snoqualmie.
Yeah, near Snoqualmie. And boy, it really needed, when I heard about that, I was just like, God, that's definitely a place. One time I saw a terrible accident with a moose that was trying to cross there. And, but they built one of those bridges recently, the state of Washington did, or I think it had to do, they got the funds or through federal funds or something. But yeah, we need more of that. We need them in the city as well, because, especially down to we have to start thinking of regardless of the money-making element of the port and the whole economic engine thing, there's other ways of making money. There's no other way to survive. If we strangle all the rivers of life, we're going to kill ourselves. And so we need to bring life back to the river, and that like that place that 350 Tacoma's working on to get a green wedge in. It's right next to U.S. oil. It's so brave. Hi.
Is the port really an economic engine.
Oh, I'm sure some people are making a lot of money on it.
Well, but does it really come back to the community? I mean, does Tacoma get the benefit of that? I mean, I remember when people used to go down and get jobs when they were longshoremen, but now they've only got 12 people running the whole thing.
Right, and it's going to become even more automated. I mean, that's the nature of the industry. Yeah, it's not benefiting. You know, it's interesting, one of the photos that I didn't put in there, or it's in that stream that's going, they just recently tore down a bridge on the Puyallup, that would cross the Puyallup River on South 11th.
Right.
You know, that was the continuation of the Murray Morgan. And that used to be a bridge that people drove every day to work and actually walked as well. You know, they're not doing that anymore. You know, that bridge is gone, and they're not missing it. No one's, and
Some of us miss it.
well, I mean, I do too. I used to bicycle across it, but I mean, in terms of work, it's not. There isn't a labor force in Tacoma that's seeking to get down to any of those places, really. So yeah, that's a good question. Is where does the money go? It definitely goes. You know, the people who are making the money in the port have a significant voice in who is elected in the city of Tacoma and the Port Commission. I mean, that was one of the things that shocked me when we were confronting the methanol refinery and the LNG was how little support we had from our elected officials. None of them were standing up. None of them. And I was going, wow, they are completely 100% on the side of the industries down there. And not, you know, what's the cost of this to the populace of Tacoma? And it didn't seem to be.
Bill Barsman was there.
Well, Bill wasn't an elected official at the time. But yeah, I appreciated Bill being there very much, though.
Any more questions?
I have one.
Yes.
So, if the Coumou tribe doesn't have the power, since it's their land, to prevent, like, the wetlands from being taken away?
Well, that's a good question. You know, one of the the question is, doesn't the tribe have the power to keep their land from being taken away as wetlands and being, you know, paved over? Most of it's been sold off. Those areas that the tribe still owns, even though, you know, it's just like a nation. A foreign country can come and buy land in the United States. And then those owners of that land can do pretty much as long as they're within the laws of that nation. The Puyallup tribe's reservation has, you know, the tribe has been beaten down so hard that they're just coming to grips with, you know, having this reservation as their own, having power with it. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with the fish wars of the 60s and 70s, but that was a major breakthrough moment. And so that wasn't that long ago, really. And in terms of what is the future for the tribe in this monstrous port, you know, they're having to make decisions, you know, that just are based on survival. So yes, in some ways they do have a voice, but on most of the land that's owned by others, they haven't got the power to. It doesn't mean they can't have the power. If they, you know, people change. They can take power, and I have faith that the tribe sees this as these are major issues. When they stepped up on the methanol refinery and the LNG, that was a very encouraging moment. That like, they're not going to take this line down, and it was tragic to see them standing up against this LNG facility and seeing, unfortunately, the most of Tacoma kind of just go, well, you know. Got to grease the wheels down there.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you a lot. So Dan Hill is next, and his bio is so short, I'm going to read it 4 times. He was born in Seattle and moved to Tacoma when he was 12. He went to Stadium High School and majored in fine arts at the University of Puget Sound. From '73 to about 2000, he lived in Seattle. Dan began as a painter and printmaker before segueing into photography. Nowadays, he spends as much time at the computer as he does with the camera. Dan?
Hello there. I am Dan Hill, and I do pictures of musicians mostly. That's what I'm kind of known for, I guess. And that's a good start. This is Lissa Romaglia, who, pardon? Oh, okay. Lissa Romaglia, who, well, she was there. Let's see. Oh, am I controlling this thing or not? Yeah, I think I am. Well, okay, what I do mainly is I isolate the subject. And Photoshop has made this really easy these days. In the old days, you had to pretty much draw around a subject, painstaking, tedious, and I never really mastered it. These days, you just push a button and say, select the subject, and boom, it selects the subject. If you've done that, you've selected the background just by, you can reverse that process. Well, so I select the subject, and then I take and mess with the background. Essentially, well, lately kind of eliminating mostly, as you can see here. Blues musicians, Tim Scott of Red House, John Hanford, also Red House, and I can't think of this guy's name, but he's anyway. So, okay, so basically what I can say, I'm getting rid of the background, or messing it up, making it look like a painting, if you will. For this, I use a number of plugins for Photoshop. I'll just keep running through these guys. Jerry Miller, our local legend. Yeah, Annie Eastwood. Gene Reichert, if I remember right. Mason Hargrove. Gal from Tupelo, I can't remember her name. Ben Rice, blues star out of Portland. Ben Rice again. Polly O'Keefe, Jim King, local saxophone legend. Polly O'Keefe again. Oh yeah, Linda Myers and Harvey Went. And well, again, back to the messing with the backgrounds. Okay, so I can isolate the subject. And I don't do too much with the subject. I mean, mainly trying to make the detail, contrast, move that up a little bit. But the backgrounds I'm kind of merciless with in terms of messing them up. Plugins I use for that are one called Snap Art from an outfit was called Alien Skin, it's now Exposure, which gives you a painterly look to, and does the best job of it. There's a lot of programs out there now that will do that. Will make a picture look like a painting. But Snap Art is still one of the best. Linda and Harvey again. Local legends out of Portland. Mark Lagan, I believe, is this fellow's name. Local jazz guy. Michael Powers. And I don't know this fellow's name. He was, anyway, interesting looking character. Oh, yeah. Laurie De La Cruz. The late Dave Nichols, and again, just a great guy, blues guitarist, sweetheart of a fella, passed away last year, I believe it was. Well-loved member of the community. Oh, Los Orchids, one of my favorites anyway, the girl group. I don't know if you've seen these gals, they've been around for a long time out of Seattle. And again, back to the back, okay, vignetting the background, blowing it away, and bringing out the subject. I like to think of it sometimes as like distilling it. I'm trying to just get the essence of the thing, and that's normally the performers, of course. Oh yeah, John Bayless, local blues guy, another Los Orchid, fabulous orchid. Joe Cook, yeah. Melanie Vale, who is a local chanteuse and very good one anyway. Does the Stone Pony tribute to Linda, oh, mine's slipping away. Raphael Tranquilino. and this is her doing her Linda Ronstadt tribute, Stone Pony. Yeah, I can't remember the name again, but Daniel, I do remember it was Daniel, I should remember that, Lori Dela Cruz. And I can't remember this feller's name, but anyway, a lot of them, there's so many, I've done these like thousands of, I was going over my old stuff, and literally thousands and thousands of these things for the last 20 years. Conan O'Brien. So, Lynn Sorensen, oops, back to that. Lynn Sorensen, who was a member of Bad Company for quite a while. There's a jam down here at Dawson's Tavern in South Tacoma. Yeah, what do we got? Manuel Moraes, part of his Lynn's group. Oh, Blue Meadows, interesting character out of Louisiana or right close to it. Really a colorful character, to say the least. A real shredder, comes on kind of like Jimi Hendrix a lot of times. And Steve Ludd. Brady Kish, new guy in the jazz bassist and very good on the scene. Oh, Steve Bailey, yeah, okay. And again, the name I don't know, but come on, keep going here. Huh, oh. All right. No, I have nothing to do with that. Okay. Jazz bassist, and again, the name I don't know, part of a jazz group. But at the Spar, a lot of this, most of what I do is at the Spar, actually. I lived across the street for like 20 years. Back. Huh, come on, respond to your thing. Oh, there we are. Lynn Sorensen again. Name I don't know, but a local player out of South Tacoma. Lynn Sorensen again. Oh, all right, our local legend, Jerry Miller, who's I think I'm 1 month older than he is. And every time I see Jerry, I wonder how long he's going to keep playing. Was formed with Moby Grape, that was his big claim to fame. Rolling Stone called him the 68th greatest rock guitarist of all time, something like that. But he's ours. He's just hard Tacoma boy. And again, I don't know this, I can't remember the name, but John Hanford. Brian Kirk, John Hanford again. I ended up with, these are a little smaller than I expected, but they look at the draw. Oh, gosh. And Jerry Miller. Raphael Tranquilino, who's, again, a local guitar shredder, local legend, sort of. Oh, yeah. And Annie O'Neill, Bart Hyde, they're part of a group, what do they call themselves? Well, it's Annie O'Neill and Steel Payment are the two people, the main partners in it. Okay, and Eddie Mendoza, shy, retiring kind of guy. Eddie, yeah, he was not shy and retiring. Matt Condit, up and coming young sax guy, he's quite good, plays with some of the real good players around here. Kevin Fraser, been playing forever. Some of you people here play with him. Tim Hall runs a jam at Dawson's on Sunday nights, these days. And other things too, that's the one I know. Doug Skoog, our local, keyboard legend. Legend in his own mind, I'm sure. He's a good guy. He's a good player. But Oh, Annie O'Neill again. Come on, there we go. Oops, Annie, we're skipping something here, okay. Lorenzo Farrell and Grady, I can't think of his last name, the new young saxophonist in Jazz at the Spar, a thing they're doing every Wednesday night, which is quite pleasant, actually. Typically, Spar, it's Sunday is blues, as probably many of you know. Wednesday is jazz, Saturday is a kind of eclectic, you never know what you're gonna get, could be country, could be anything. Annie O'Neill again. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Angela Guerrero, oh, anyway, Guerrero. Heather Jones. And his name I don't know again, but anyway, player out there. Lynn Sorensen, Conan. Oh, yeah. And let's see who we got there. That's Billy Spalding and, oh gosh, I can't remember the bass's name. Don Swenson. And again, I don't know that gentleman. Back to Annie. I guess I got, anyway, good subject. Yeah, the late, great, Jimmy, again, I can't think of the last name, but he passed away a few years back, and Seattle, a keyboard player, but part of a musical family, and everybody's loved the guy. This guy's name I don't know again, but he was a good subject. Oh, Mark Dufresne is a legend. If you've never seen Mark Dufresne, he's a phenomena. Got a range of voice from here to here, and anyway. And I can't, this fellow's again, pretty well known in the jazz scene, and again, I forget his name. I just ran into him like a month ago. Tim Lurch, who plays regularly with jazz at Spar on the Wednesdays. He's with Pearl Django, the gypsy jazz group out of Seattle. Brady Kirsch again. And again, I don't know his name, but Seattle jazz guy who's, I think, pretty well known, but I can't remember the name. Oh, yeah. Sonny Loudon. And I can't think of his name either. I don't know if I ever actually knew it, but anyway. All right, well, this is back to, this is quite a few years back. This is the Bog Hoppers, who are regular at St. Paddy's Day at the Spar. And this is one of them, and then there's another, yeah, there they are. They were colorful. And again, same story. Subjects brought out, background messed with, as it were. Oh, Renaissance Fair back used to be a real favorite photo subject of mine because everybody's in costume and doing their thing. And she's an actress out of Hollywood, actually. That a lot of these Renaissance people, Renaissance Festival people, are actually professional performers, and some of them really good. Stu Bailey, yeah, okay. Dennis Ellis in the background there with the saxophone, used to run the B-Sharp Coffee House down in Opera Alley. Oops. And local mover and shakers been responsible for bringing a lot of music and jazz here to the area. Yeah, oh, okay, flash from the past. This is gone now. This was the tea room at the Crescent Moon. When they were up on 6th Avenue, which is a new age, I don't know if you're familiar with Crescent Moon, but new agey, all kinds of stuff. And this was their tea room. Yeah, planned. And just because. It's other stuff I do. The landscaping is another thing of mine, but mainly musicians. That's been my principal thing here. And I think that's the end of that, what I had there. Oh, no, it wasn't quite more. Yeah, well, same principle, background messed up. And Lisa Ramaglia. She was just such a sweetheart. She passed away in the last couple of years, and that's not that old a picture. She was young, totally unexpected. She's about maybe so high, 100 pounds wet, and just a killer bass player. Everybody loved her, and well respected in the musical community, and it was a real shock when she went. So. Yeah, but that, like I say, that's really what I do. Take the subject, bring it out, take the background, and mess it up. And anyway, so that is the end of the show. I mean, at the end of the slides. Thank you. Well, any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
Now that Costco doesn't do printing
I know,
anymore,
God, yeah, that was my go-to place for printing, yeah. I print my own mostly now. Yeah, well, actually, and if you're into this stuff, the Epson Echo Tank printers, which Costco now sells for like a couple $100. Computer printers are a real racket. You know, you pay more for those cartridges than you do for the prices of perfume. Okay, well, the Echo Tanks use tanks of ink, and it's night and day difference. I mean, it comes with a 2-year supply, they say. And for me, that was like a 3-month supply, but still, I mean, it makes it dirt cheap print, and the quality of the prints is extremely good. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing, is printing my own. But really, for me, online, my gallery has been Facebook. I mean, a lot of people have mixed feelings about Facebook, but for me, it's precious. I mean, it's my gallery, so that's where I get my audience. And what do I have? Something like pushing 3,000 people on there. I mean, if I was doing this conventionally in galleries, I don't know how I'd get a following like that. So, anyway, yeah. So.
Another question? Could you say it really loud, please? And Dan, would you repeat the question?
I'll repeat the question.
Well, okay. I'm kind of amazed by how much detail you can get on people's faces and just the detail in the subject matter and the lighting of a bar.
Mm-hmm.
So is that just because you have a really good camera, a lens?
Well, you know, I'm lucked out, and the camera's part of it for sure. I'm using Fuji's these days. I've
Yeah.
used kind of everything.
Dan, could you repeat that question, please?
Oh, let's see, what was the question now? How do I get the detail
In the low light of a
in low light of a bar? Yeah. Well, like I say, I've lucked out a lot. The spar sometimes it amazes me that I'll think, well, this is really crappy lighting, and I can get something out of it. And digital cameras, I think, and the sensors, what they can do. On the subject, one thing I use a lot is plugins from an outfit called N-I-K. And they are great stuff. It's been around forever and ever. Been through Google bought it, and then it's back to an outfit called DxO now out of France, who actually are maintaining it. But really excellent plugins, and one particularly one is called Detail Extractor. And you'll hear from a lot of pros using this stuff. I don't know, it's micro context. I'm not sure what exactly it's doing, but it really makes detail pop. Everything's just more real and more cool. So yeah, that's one of the secrets. Other than that, like I say, just luck. Dawson's, I've been shooting at Dawson's recently, because I live close to it now, and I always hated it because of the lighting. I mean, the performance is great, the stage is great, but the lighting is all colored and weird, and very hard to do stuff with. So I started doing it in black and white, and then, hey, no problem, it all works out. And so, yeah. Well, that's, I guess, the answer. Yes?
I have a follow-up to hers, and I have a question for me.
Yeah.
What's your ISO when you're shooting in the bars?
Well, you know, I'm not even paying attention.
Dan, could you repeat the question?
Oh, what is my ISO when I'm shooting in bars? Yeah, how high the sensitivity of the film. And I seldom really pay attention to it. I'm pretty much on automatic or program, or I'll vary shutter preferred aperture, but I'm not really paying attention much to the ISO as such. I'm using, you have an exposure compensation dial there, and you can see it light and dark, and you'll see the effect on the screen. But frankly, I don't pay much attention.
And then my question, of your performance photography, what's your favorite thing? The performance, the photography, or afterwards sitting at your computer reading?
Well, a lot of the fun is at the computer. I mean, that's where all the work is. I mean, shooting the pictures is big, you know, no big deal. Well, I mean, a little bit. But working afterwards, I'll spend hours at the computer maybe working on pictures, and I enjoy it. I thoroughly do enjoy it. I spent a lot of time as a darkroom technician. Back in the day, I made a living with that for a long time. And I enjoyed it. I liked darkroom work, was great, you know, but you're in the dark and you're working with the chemicals and the smell and all the rest of it. And now I can sit in the light with, you know, refreshments at my side and do infinitely more than I ever could. You know, the software is getting amazing. Like I say, this business of picking out a subject used to be challenging. Okay, at least a lot of work to do it. Nowadays, it's push the button, select subject, boom, and it does it. And it's almost always pretty much on the money. So software has made life way easier. Yes?
Can I assume you sell your work, and can you give us an idea of how much you're making?
Well, I'm making probably nothing. It's sort of the story of my life. I've never really I didn't like making it. I got into photography thinking I could make a living at it. Found that I did not like making a living at it. I mean, I didn't want to do to order. I wanted to be an artist and do what I wanted to do. People ask, and I will sell it. If somebody wants a print, I'll do it. But it's a small part of what I'm doing. Mainly, it's like I say, it's online. Everything's out there online, and if you know what you're doing, you can right-click it and copy a picture and do whatever you want with it. Because I'm not. I like to see it get seen, get used. And a lot of musicians use my stuff for their CD covers, their Facebook pages, and all that. And to me, that's all the gratification I need, you know. So anyway, yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Did I get 20 minutes out of it? All right, thank you.
A couple of things. Dan shot a lot of his pictures at the SPAR, which reminded me we have a guest in the audience tonight who is playing with his band, and that would be Doug Mackey. Doug, would you mind just standing up so they can at least see you? Okay, now stand up again now that the light is on. There he is. And his band is Mr. Black Watch, and they've been on hiatus for, I think, about a year. So this is a debut performance, March 4th. I think that's a Saturday. Okay. Another tripod that's coming up March 17th, they're always on third Fridays, is a show of Tacoma talent, people that are doing things in Tacoma in the arts. And that's going to be Irene Rasputinas, and she's the woman who organized Porch Fest, if anybody was a witness to that. And then Anna Thurston will be doing a show that is a cross between yoga and collage that you can make for some personal satisfaction. I hope I didn't slaughter that, Anna. And then Miles Steyer, who is an artist himself. He's the son of Sharon Steyer and Nick, two local celebrities. And he also does the promo work for the Pacific Art Gallery in Proctor and a number of other things that he'll tell you about. So next, I will introduce Ed Coumou. He's a semi-retired owner, creative director of CPF Marketing Communications, which provides creative services and specializes in web, print, and brand. His 40-year career included positions as an executive for national and regional advertising agencies. Notably, he was the general manager of the Seattle office of Murray, Kraft, and Rocky Advertising, with other offices in other major West Coast cities. He also became a partner and executive vice president for Ferguson Prop Coumou Advertising Incorporated in Seattle. His personal background: he was born a Dutch citizen in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and immigrated to the USA with his parents and sisters. He completed high school and university education here in the United States. One of his recent projects was a collaboration with Tacoma artist Elaine Vogel in a high-end photo book titled Surprising Tacoma. This book features over 100 beautiful professional color photos by Ed, supported by descriptive and background text. Elaine provided research, location scouting, plus editing and administrative services, as well as serving as a photography assistant. The book provides visual proof of the city of Tacoma as a great place to live, work, and play. Ed?
I'm going to take this mask off. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate that. Let's see, got some notes here. Okay, what I'm going to be talking about today is really an extraordinary experience that Elaine and I had, of all places, at the Seattle Woodland Park Zoo. Have most of you been to the Woodland Park Zoo? Raise your hand if you've been there. Okay, thank you. Oh, quite a few. That's great. Anyway, we went there for what's called the Annual Lights Festival at the Seattle Woodland Park Zoo. It was November 11th through January 23rd.
Can everybody hear Ed?
Okay. Okay, I'll try not to swallow this thing. Anyway, what this is, it was a lanterns display, lighted lanterns. It was an immersive experience featuring large-scale animal and nature landscapes, naturescapes, representing the wild places from around the globe. And it was just fascinating and very interesting and quite impressive. What they had done is they created lighted lanterns and placed them along both sides of the 2-mile-long walkway that they have at the zoo. Normally during the day you'd see the animals there, but in the evening when the lights were low, they'd have these lanterns, and they're based on Chinese and Asian lanterns. Originally they were made out of bamboo and paper, but nowadays they use different techniques, more modern techniques. They have wireframe figures covered with hand-painted translucent fabric, all lighted from the inside. This is just one there. That was called the dragonfly tree, and that's all wireframe, handmade, and covered in fabric and painted. So these people were quite the artisans as well. Also, let me get the next one. Is this working? Yeah. Okay, this is also another one. And they're huge structures. They're life-size. This thing was enormous, and the tree was lifelike a tree size. Also, many of them have motorized movements, like these dragonflies that their wings would beat and so on. And it was really quite impressive. We'll go through some more. The animals were just fantastic. I mean, they were works of art in themselves. that's obviously a porcupine. But when you think about how did they create this, and then they're all lit from the inside with LEDs and modern lighting technology. So, see, isn't that something? I really loved the orangutans that they had. And, you know, they're quite expressive, too. This is a lazy lion, or no, it's a tiger, rather, a Bengal tiger. And this thing was enormous. It was a big, big animal. Yeah, they were life-size, and some of them even bigger. Yeah, they were just stunning. They were wonderful. Anyway, these were all inspired by Chinese and Asian lantern festivals around the world. And such lanterns can be traced back to actually thousands of years back to both the Chinese and Thai celebrations and festivals that they used to have. Like I said, originally they were constructed of bamboo and paper, but that wouldn't work in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, I will show you some more of the things so you get an idea of this is a lane here. And along the walkways, all 2 miles of it, on both sides, they'd have these fabulous lighted displays. And if you ever get the chance, they're going to do this annually, I understand. The first one was 2021, and this year's was 22. And it just keeps on growing, and they keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I really recommend it. So, yeah, also they had a bug section. Again, this is the porcupine. And this is the angel that flew in. That's a lane there. But you know, these, you can appreciate just how big these lanterns are. And the artistry that really went into them is just amazing. This is a larger than life of an ant in the bug section. So all kinds of life was represented in this display. Yeah, it's a translucent type fabric, probably nylon or something of that sort. Nobody ever answered that question specifically, but I'll go into who made these in a little bit too. So these are not deer. If you look at the horns, they are African deer, Reeboks or something like that. I really appreciated all the little monkeys along the side. Just the expressions on their faces are just marvelous. Now these are, I believe, the meerkats, and I think they represented them pretty well if you've ever seen the National Geographic renditions of meerkats. They're a very social animal. This is a tapir, probably South America. You know, photographing these is a little bit different than just regular photography that I do. Most things that I shoot, like landscapes or portraits or whatever, you're working with reflected light. The light shines on them, it's reflected back to the camera, and then you click it. And these is completely different. These figures are the light source because they're lit from within. So anyway, it was quite an experience just shooting them. Now, this is a praying mantis. You can't really see much of it. This was taken as a single frame from a video. But this thing moved all around. The claws moved around, and the head moved back and forth, and the wings flapped, and it was quite impressive. It's a piece of technology as much as a piece of art. This was Bigfoot. Obviously, he's not a real, well, he might be, I don't know. I thought I saw him downtown once. Anyway, Elaine's sitting on his lap. I think he was more nervous than she was. I'm not sure what these animals represent, but I thought it was kind of cute. Now these are, I am not really sure. There's some sort of in the cat family, but anybody know what these are? They're not raccoons. Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are. Now these are definitely not raccoons. They're orangutans. Orangutans originally from Indonesia, where I lived for 7 years. So I really appreciate. They're very intelligent animals. They're big and they're very much endangered. It's just an enormous ant. And that is, Elaine, they had a tunnel made of wisteria that was lit from above and behind. And it's just a real visual, stunning setting.
What time of day was that?
This was, actually, it shot this one fairly early. It was still a little bit of light outside, but it was just at dusk. And this must be that Bigfoot. Anyway, so they had these naturescapes, flowers, different kind of scenes. These are obviously bugs climbing a tree. Made fascinating photo. Anyway, those are the, there were over 500 figures and scenes there. Each one more fascinating than the next one. So I didn't take all of them, obviously, plus it was pretty cold. Any of you interested in what the backstory is? Who made these? Yes. Okay. Well, these were all made by a company called Tanyu Arts and Culture, Inc. It's a China-based company it does have USA offices in Chicago, but the US-based corporation is a subsidiary of the Sichuan Tanyu Culture Communications Company Limited, which is headquartered in Xingong, China, in the Sichuan province. Their team of designers, artisans, and operational professionals bring more than 2 decades of experience doing this kind of stuff, creating authentic and interactive lantern events in partnership with destinations around the world these days. They have produced over 62 light festivals in zoos, parks, and venues in 32 cities in the U.S. alone. So you're going to be hearing more of them, I'm sure. And when they come around again next fall, I really urge that you go there. Tanyu is basically a premium service provided for world-class lantern and light festivals. So they organize beautiful light displays, as you could see. and exhibits in zoos, botanical gardens, fairgrounds, and other venues around the world. They are the largest Chinese lantern festival producer in North America. And what they do, the people from the zoos and the places where they display collaborate with Tianyu on choosing the animals and the diorama designs and the settings. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. It's a marvelous thing. I've never experienced anything quite like it. So, anyway.
I'd like to say that, I'm Elaine.
She's that angel you saw.
This tree that you're looking at is huge. It looks kind of small here, but it's a great big tree, and it keeps changing colors. So that's, I mean, he showed, the image before this shows it as an orange tree, but it cycles through beautiful colors. I stood there just absolutely overwhelmed with the beauty of it.
So when you say huge, is it as tall as this room?
Oh, it was taller than this room.
And a second question, are you using a tripod?
No, and it's a good question. The reason is that these are lit from inside. They are the light source. So that's why all these dark backgrounds are quite dark in most cases.
Could everybody hear his answer?
But, I remember that you were using your cell phone.
Yes, I used a cell phone.
Although you brought
for
your
most of these,
your major camera, you didn't use it, you were able to get good pictures with your cell phone.
Yeah, and the reason is that they were lit from inside. So they were the light source all by itself. So, so I decided to stick with the cell phone because it's great for picking up low light anyway. Anyone? Yeah?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, how did they get them here? Well, they obviously didn't fly by themselves.
Are they put together on site?
On what?
Are they put together on site? Do they come in pieces like Legos and put together on site?
Well, I wasn't privy to seeing how they shipped them, but I'm assuming that they were shipped in containers, probably by ship. It's all planned out way ahead of time. And then they're assembled here and touched up if they need to be. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Becky?
Yeah, it looks like they, you were able to touch them or get so close that you could touch them, or was it?
You can. They kind of warn you not to do that. But I assume that warning was for the little kids who came up and wanted to pet the animals. So I did touch a couple of them.
Ed, do you mind if I answer a couple of these questions?
Yeah.
I went last year, and it is the most stunning thing you have ever seen, and I believe it cost about $30 a piece, which it would have been worth it if it was double. And there's painting on the surface of the nylon, and then the lights inside shine through that paint. So we snuck up to one and touched it to see if the paint was inside or outside. And the structures appear to be welded steel, and it's something like tensile steel, which is less than 1/4 of an inch
Yeah,
each piece.
it's wireframe.
Yeah. Steel. So I'm only saying exactly what it is because we looked them over pretty thoroughly, trying to figure out, do they ship these things intact? And I don't know about this year, we didn't end up going, but last year they had, for example, a dragon as long as the width of this room with an articulated neck and jaw and ears, if dragons have ears, and fire coming out of its mouth, not real fire, of course. And those ants that you guys saw, I think we saw ants too, and the ants are 8 or 10 feet long.
Oh, yeah,
I
they're,
mean, these things
they're
are
huge
giant,
ants.
and they're up above you, and they're down on the ground. If you hear about it, it's over the Christmas season, and when they talk about zoo lights, you know, I don't know what Tacoma zoo lights are like, but this is nothing like that. It is just amazing. Elaine?
I just want to make another comment, which is they are nothing like zoo lights, which are little bulbs, really. And from my own personal experience, having been an artist for my life and seen a lot of art, I stood there and my heart was just pounding with the beauty of that tree and the gorgeous colors and the movement. It was like an experience that you just, you know, it's memorable, is all I can say.
Right, and like Ed said, it's 2 miles. So you could go through just half of that and be tired and go, I'm not missing the rest.
No, it's true. I like to think of it as a peak experience. We all have them in our lives, and I'm certainly going to remember this one.
Great. Any more questions, Anna?
Can you tell us about the size of the porcupine and whether the quills are three-dimensional or flat, or how did they do that?
The quills are also individually wire-framed and covered with nylon. And it definitely looks like they really could be quills. It's fascinating. I mean, the design and the work that went into these, although I never got to see the design process, it is phenomenal.
It's huge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, as usual, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I think you know nobody gets paid, no honorariums, nothing. They're just doing it to serve the community. So thank you all very much. And thanks, by the way, for donating your $3. That goes to the rent and to Erik, our tech. You're free to go.